9:20, and as the nation mourns the passing of one of the most influential politicians of our time, the Obama administration focuses on how Senator Ted Kennedy's loss will affect the balance of power in Washington.
Political analyst Thom Serafin joins us this morning to break this all down. So let's kind of clear up what's going to happen in Massachusetts right now. Currently, they're not going to have anybody to replace them. They have to do a special election. How long will that take, and what's going to happen now with the voting there in Massachusetts? Will they just have one vote now?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. They will have one vote, but the game is in Washington, D.C., and how soon they get to this health care bill. I think there will be some kind of health care reform, health care reform package. It won't be what they wanted, but it will be something. And do they need more than 57 votes when they can do, they're talking about doing something with only 51 votes. So at this point, I don't think it's going to harm as much as it may help. I remember what he said in 1980 when he capitulated to Jimmy Carter when he lost the Democratic primary for the presidency against the incumbent Jimmy Carter at the time. He lost 10 out of 35 primary states. He gave this going away speech, and I'll just read it. Take me a second. For me, and a few hours ago, this campaign came to an end. But for those who care as we have been working on, the work goes on. The cause endures. The hope still lives, and the dream shall never die. That is what Ted Kennedy brings to the health care reform package. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but fortunately for the Democrats, they're going to use those words to pass some kind of health care reform.
Almost like a legacy that, it's going to be his health care reform. It's all about him now in a lot of respects.
They're calling it that. In fact, they're saying vote for Ted's bill now, right?
They will have, yes, and that's what they're counting on right now, the Democrats. Orrin Hatch said this morning, his good friend, the Republican, that we should not pass something on the death of Ted Kennedy, but something will come across.
I want to show the audience that you really have a personal connection here. This man with the beautiful long hair, it hasn't changed much. It's you, Mr. Thom Serafin, except for the color, of course. And then let me just do it like this.
Roland Burris.
Right there. Roland Burris in the background, but more importantly right now for our purposes.
He was running for controller of the state of Illinois. That was back in '78, a couple years before he decided to run for president.
All right, we're going to move on to some other politics. Before I let you go, your impressions of the man.
He was cursed with the legacy of the Kennedys in succession. He's the youngest of 9 kids. His brother Joe, who died in the war in an airplane accident, was destined to be the first senator. He died. It went then to John Kennedy. He was assassinated in a terrible situation in Dallas. In fact, his brother Ted was a senator, and he was presiding over the chamber at the time when he got the news that his brother was assassinated. 5 years later, his brother Bobby gets assassinated, campaigning and winning the California primary in '68. Then he has that horrible incident in Chappaquiddick in '69. He decides to run for president in 1980. He finally loses. After that, it was off his shoulder. He didn't need to do that anymore. He became a wonderful legislator. More important, he was a human being in that body. Most of that work gets done off the Senate floor. I worked there with Alan Dixon during the '80s. I used to ride the tunnel, and he was in the car with us. Very congenial, wonderful person, and a terrific legislator. He served one-fifth of the time that we've had a U.S. Senate under our Constitution. It's a long time, 47 years.
So there's a Senate race that still has to be held there in Massachusetts, and they're thinking it could be, at minimum 5 months until they actually get all that together. In the meantime, we also have a Senate race here in Illinois, and someone else has thrown his head into the ring as well.
Chicago Inspector General David Hoffman resigned yesterday, announcing that he is running in the Democratic Party. This is a guy that was brought in to help clean up the government a little bit here. What do you think his chances are?
Well, his chances are pretty good. It's a truncated campaign. It's a very short campaign because you got Christmas and Thanksgiving. You have 2 or 3 months of the campaign. The election is February 2nd. He's got Dave Axelrod's old organization working for him, Mayor Daley's organization, Dave Axelrod's organization, Barack Obama's organization.
Mayor Daley, even though some of Hoffman's investigations were focused a little bit on, and they seem to be at odds at sometimes.
Right, and that's a natural process. I mean, the same way with Lisa Madigan, the Attorney General. She's at odds with certain people in Springfield. I mean, that you're always going to get that. But more interesting on this race is the Stop Alexei movement. Alexei is the state treasurer of the state of Illinois. He's got the county chairman's endorsement behind him. He's got an organization behind him.
He's got
raised
money.
a couple $1 million. He's got everything going for himself in this particular race. He's a Democratic elected official for the state of Illinois, and all of a sudden Barack Obama's organization says, we're going to run somebody else in this race because we don't think you can beat Mark Kirk in the general election. So this is really about stopping Alexei. It's not about anything else because they don't think he can beat Mark Kirk.
And they're worried about the change of votes in the Senate should Illinois lose a Democratic vote.
Well, the perception is that this is an Obama seat. This is an African-American seat. Actually, Alan Dixon held this seat for 12 years. Before that, Adlai Stevenson, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The bottom line is this is not an Obama seat. It's not an African-American seat. They're seeing this as a seat that represents the Democratic Party, and they don't want to be embarrassed in 2010. The White House is saying, I'm sorry, Illinois, we're going to run our own organization here, we'll run our own candidate, and we're running against a Democratic elected official.
I mentioned an African-American, Cheryl Jackson, president of the Urban League director.
Very attractive candidate.
Yeah, could Hoffman and Janulius campaigns cancel each other out and open the door for Cheryl Jackson?
Well, that's what happened the last time a party regular was challenged. U.S. Senator Alan Dixon in 1992 was challenged with the same media firm, Axelrod's media firm. He ran Al Hofeld's campaign. Carol Moseley Braun came up the middle and split the difference with 37% of the vote.
This is going to get very interesting.
So your question is very good. But we're going to have 3 more candidates get in this race. I think you're going to have a gay-back candidate. You're going to have a very interesting operation because you don't need a lot of votes. You need 400,000 votes to get elected. So it's really anyone's campaign at this point. But Alexei's got the edge. But it's interesting that the White House says, Alexei, you're not our guy.
All right.
Gosh. All right.
Great picture, huh? This hasn't changed a day.
Know.
Not a day.
Your hair looks exactly the same.
Same haircut.
It's very lovely.
I still have it.
That's more than what most men can say, right?
That's right.
Thanks, Thom.